Kyle, today I want to talk about something that's super, super timely. I think it's going to work for no matter when people listen to this. But right now we're seeing something in our market, but we're also seeing it. I've followed the Fast Forward group. We're seeing it all across the country, and that's listings are sitting. And we haven't seen it like this for this slow in the summer for years, would you say?
Yeah, the only other time when the rates jumped in 2022, there was a slow period there for a little while until people kind of stabilized. But this, and then pre-pandemic, that was the last time that we had a slow market like this. But it is slow right now. Like, we are dead center in the summer of 2025, and it's freaking slow.
Yeah, and this should be the busiest time of the year. And so I have some questions that I want to run through with you to see why it's happening, but more importantly, what can agents do listening to this now? What can they do to move the process forward?
Awesome. Yeah, let's jump into that today. We'll talk about some specific strategies for how to get your stale listings to get moving in this very, very, very slow, stale market. My name is Kyle Whissel. I am your host with eXp Realty in San Diego, joined by Mr. Bryan Koci, runs marketing here at Whissel Realty Group. And the goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question, you want to have it answered here on the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com, ask us questions, subscribe to the podcast, YouTube channel, join our private Facebook group and email newsletter. We share a lot of tips and tricks. And if you want to level up your content creation game, we have a course called the Media Mayor Mastermind. Bryan and I will teach you everything we've learned working together for the last 10 plus years. Audio, video, social, all things media, everything. You can check it all out at thewhisselway.com.
So let's get right into it.
Let's go.
There are a couple reasons that I can think of off the top of my head that listings will be stagnant. The price, the condition, or the marketing. How can an agent, because the easy option is price. Nope, just lower the price.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's other options. How can an agent determine which one of those it is, and then what can they do to make it better?
Okay. Yeah, I would say that you're probably pretty accurate. Those are the three primary. There might be some other, smaller things here and there. But so you said price, condition, and marketing, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So to determine if it's price or not, we need to look at how many showings we're receiving. In our world, traditionally here in San Diego or Southern California as a whole, we're typically on most listings looking to see about 2 showings per week. Now, we've adjusted that recently just because of how slow it's been to where we're comfortable with like 1.5 showings a week right now. Basically,
a half showing, is that like a kid?
3 showings every 2 weeks is kind of what we're looking for right now. So if we get to a point where we're not even getting the showings, right, we're not getting 2 showings a week, that's a clear indicator that and this is exactly how I say it to the seller, we're looking to see a minimum of 2 showings per week. If at any point we see 2 consecutive weeks where we don't get 2 showings, that's the market letting us know that the price is not in alignment with the home, right? The price is not attractive enough to get the buyers to come see the home. That's the thing. The price is not attractive enough to get the buyers to come see the home, right? It's clearly a price issue at that point, right? It's not condition of the home because we can't even get them to come see the damn home to see what the condition of the home is. If the price were right now, arguably the condition of the home is so shitty that you should have priced it lower. But again, that's a price issue. So if you're not getting showings at all, right, like more often than not, that's a price issue. Could you say that it's a marketing issue? You could mix that in there as well.
It's always going to be a little bit of all.
It's always going to be your predominant one is that it's going to be price, and then marketing would be secondary on that because even if it's priced right, but it's not marketed or presented properly, aka shitty photos, you haven't staged the home, whether you actually brought furniture in or just staged what was in there. You haven't made it attractive. You have a bad description, things like that. You could also cause yourself to not have showings. So I would say if you're getting no showings at all, it's primarily price, but also marketing is going to be mixed in there. And then when it comes to condition of the home, the second thing that we like to tell our sellers is that, and again, this adjusts to your market, your price point, but we're typically looking to see an offer within 8 private showings. So if at any point we've had 8 private showings, open houses don't count. If we've had at least 8 private showings and we have not received an offer, now we need to go look at the feedback that we received, which if you're not getting feedback, you're not doing your job. go look at the feedback and figure out what are the buyers saying, right? Because the price was clearly attractive enough to get the buyers to come see the home, but now there's something about the home that's not attractive enough to get them to write the offer. So then we need to look, and it's usually going to fall into one of two categories, a controllable or an uncontrollable. Controllable would be something like paint, carpet, landscaping, curb appeal, right? Those are controllables, meaning that you, the seller, have the ability to control that, right? You can repaint, you can re-carpet, you can re-landscape, right? You can do all of those things. Uncontrollables are you back up to a freeway. There's a cemetery across the street. Those are uncontrollable things.
If your listing has wheels.
but your comparables also have wheels, right? So
I'm just saying you could just move it farther away from the freeway.
You're selling an RV, yeah. So in that scenario, that's where you're going to be more in the condition of the home. And then as a seller, the seller's got to decide, do I want to control the controllable, aka do I want to change the carpet? You don't have to. That's fine if you don't want to change the carpet. Maybe you got a ton of stuff and it'd be a nightmare to take everything out to put carpet in, and that's fine. But then you got to control the price. Alternatively, if it is an uncontrollable thing like a cemetery, a freeway, whatever, the only thing you can control is the price. So you need to react to that feedback. So we are relentless with getting feedback. I will call you, text you, email you 3 times. And I understand some agents have a philosophy to not give feedback. And if you won't, that's fine. Just tell me. Like say, hey, it's our company policy not to provide feedback. And I'll leave you alone. There's actually a whole case around this.
I made a face and Kyle's like, don't even go into it. Just
somebody got sued because they gave feedback and the buyer sued them because it hurt them later. Crazy shit.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, if somebody's just like, hey, you know what, we prefer our policy, we don't provide the feedback, that's fine. And then I'll leave you alone. When somebody just ghosts me, I actually get pretty pissed off. I had somebody that recently scheduled a showing on my listing and they didn't even show the fucking house. And my seller was like, hey, did you get feedback? Did you figure? I'm like, did they even come to the house? And I looked, they never even accessed the home. And now I'm like chasing this agent down for feedback, and turns out they never even went in the house. They're like, oh, we didn't like the neighborhood. Like, well, it's a professional courtesy if you schedule a showing and you're not going to walk through the house. Like, hey, just as a heads up, we drove through, we didn't like the neighborhood. Like, say something. Now I got to track you down for that. Like,
okay, so that's the condition and price. I love that you said you set that up front. That way it makes the next question, it's an easy answer, but I don't want to give you the easy answer. Yeah. I'm going to say, hey, Kyle, you did this listing, you messed up, you didn't set that expectation up front.
Well, yeah, most agents don't set any expectation up front. And most agents list the home at whatever price the seller wants because they're too scared to tell the seller what they need to hear, which is, this is where we need to price the home. And now the market has shifted quite a bit in the last, let's call it 90 days. With, you know, politically, war, like everything, a lot's changed. Financial, all that stuff. There's a lot that's changed. Some of us maybe we're not prepared for it. We're like, hey, we're coming into the summer. Let's price and let's push a little bit on price. And then the market's like, nah, that's not going to work. So maybe you were expecting the market to do one thing and it's done another thing. And so now you got to course correct.
So how do you course correct when you didn't set the seller up with the proper expectations? Without being like, because this is what I think agents are afraid to say, and I think this is what some sellers will think. Hey, it's too hard to sell your listing, and I don't want to work that hard, so make my job easier and let's decrease the price. Like, obviously that's not your script. If that's your script, let's work on that. But how do you have that conversation without it coming across like, I don't know how to do my job, and when I told you I could do, whoopsies.
Whether you had the conversation up front with the 2 things that I said, and I'll say them here in a second, or you come in and it's been 2 or 3 weeks on the market and you have no showings, just introduce that conversation, right? Ideally, for me, I have the conversation at the listing appointment. I have the conversation when the listing goes live. And then 2 weeks in, we're having the conversation again, right? So it's no surprise. They're expecting it. Like I have one of those conversations today at 5 o'clock. They know we're having the conversation to adjust the price, and that's fine, right? There's no surprises to anybody here because we haven't had the 2 showings per week. So it's an expected conversation with that seller. So the 2 things that we say, again, you either did this at the listing appointment or you're recovering now 2 or 3 weeks in, which if you're more than 2 or 3 weeks in and you haven't had a conversation with the seller, that's another problem you need to work on. You need to talk to your sellers on a consistent basis at a minimum of every 2 weeks. Depending on the scenario, it could be far more frequently. But again, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we'll go, Brian, in this market, we're looking to see a minimum of 3 showings every 2 weeks. If at any point we go 2 weeks and we haven't had 3 showings, that's the market letting us know the price is not attractive enough to get the buyers to come see the home. And Brian, I know once the buyers come see the home, they're going to fall in love with it. But if I can't get them to even come see it, it's the market letting us know we need to adjust the price. Okay. Alternatively, Brian, if we're getting the showings and we've had 8 or more showings, but we haven't received an offer on the home, that's the market letting us know the price was attractive enough to get the buyers to come see the home, but there's something about the home that's not attractive enough for the buyers to write an offer. And now, assuming we're 2 or 3 weeks in having this conversation, based on the feedback from the buyers, every single buyer has mentioned that you have a ridiculously steep driveway, and that's a problem for them. So unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about your driveway. You're on a mountain. It is what it is. So we need to make an adjustment to the price to offset this super steep driveway that you have. All right, so that's the conversation that I'm going to have with the client at that point.
Do they have a steep driveway?
I'm thinking about a particular property where that was.
Yes.
I'm just thinking back.
Yeah.
I had a property that we were getting all the showings because it looks great on, right? You don't realize how steep the freaking driveway is till you get there. So
my Ferrari
it was
can't
one
go
of
up
those where we were getting all the showings because the home was amazing. It was up on top of a mountain, killer views, but the driveway to get there was crazy. And you wouldn't be able to get a trailer up because of how windy it is.
I think I know the exact property you're talking about.
So, that scenario, that was one where we were getting showings, but we weren't getting offers because once they got there, the driveway was a problem. So just have that conversation. How many showings per week? How many showings before you get an offer? And just whether you had that up front or you have that 2 or 3 weeks in, you got to have that conversation, because this saying a buddy of mine, Chase, came up with years ago is a 2-minute offense prevents a 20-minute defense.
Is that Chase Cromwell?
Chase Mayer.
Oh.
So 2-minute offense prevents 20-minute defense. So that 2-minute conversation of just telling them those 2 metrics that we're tracking prevents you getting stuck in a 20-minute defense of you're stupid, you're not working hard, you're not doing anything, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so you have that conversation with the seller and they say, I hear you, I think you're stupid, you're not doing enough. And you say, look, this is what I'm going to do to creatively bring people to the house. What do you do? Besides open houses, you should be doing them regardless, no matter what. Absolutely, that's bare minimum.
Yeah, one of the other strategies, let's assume that we have a listing that's been sitting for longer than we'd like. If you haven't already done a broker open house, it's a great idea to do a broker open house. I don't know how it is in your market. In our market, most broker open houses, there's a lot of affiliates, title, mortgage, whatever, that tend to go. And so when I do this broker caravan, every person who comes through, I give them a little feedback card, like a 3x5 card. Just ask positives, negatives, what do you think about the price of the home? And so I just get all these people to come through and they all fill out this little survey card. They answer 3 really quick questions. And then when that broker open is over, I scan all the cards because I don't want them to think that I'm just telling them what they want to hear. I literally scan the freaking cards in and send it to the seller. And I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we had 14 local brokers or local experts come by today. Here's all of the feedback from them. And you'll notice of the 14 that came by, 10 of them actually said it's overpriced. So not only do we have the buyers telling us it's overpriced because nobody's coming to look at it, but we also had 10 out of the 14 brokers or the local experts, because I like to say local experts because it's not all brokers that come. 10 of the 14 local experts that came through today all stated that they believe the home is overpriced as well. So that's another really cool strategy to, one, expose it to more people, because now you can show the seller you've got 14 people through the door, and 10 of them said it's overpriced. So that's a strategy that I really like.
Give me one more strategy. Again, and we talked about open houses, and during open houses, you're calling the neighbors, you're inviting the neighbors. We're assuming they went big, right? They put out all the signs, they did the flags, they put it on Zillow, they put it on Realtor. They did all the things for open houses. Again, maybe they're not doing that, but I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. They've done the whole shebang. I love the broker open idea, but if it's a low-end condo that's 45 minutes away from the broker open, you're not going to get 14 brokers through. What else can you do to be creative about it, to market it?
Yeah, another thing that I like, because virtually nobody does this when they first list a property, that you could go back and do. If it's a pocket listing, you're probably doing this, but most of the time we don't do this on a on-market listing. But go back and find, like, let's call it the 20 most recent properties that have sold in the area, and call both the listing and selling broker on all 20 of those. So you're gonna make like 40 phone calls, but just call, say, hey, Brian, it's Kyle. I saw you sold a home recently in La Mesa. I got another listing in La Mesa. I wanted to tell you about it. Have you seen my listing over on 123 Main Street? And then one of two things is going to happen, right? What are the two options there?
Yes or no.
Okay, so if the answer is, oh yeah, I saw that one. Oh, what did you think? Yeah, I don't have any clients for. What do you think about the price? It's probably a little high. Write that note down, right? Or they'll say like, oh, actually, I have a client for it. Great. When would they like to come see it, right? So I got two angles there. I'm either going to use you to get me some feedback that I can now take to my seller, or maybe I want to get a showing out of it. So call through the 20 most recent sales in the general area, call all those brokers and tell them, I got a listing in the area. Have you seen it? And then either try to get feedback on it or get a showing on it.
I love that. It's funny, I actually gave that advice to one of our agents. I thought I made it up, but I'm sure you told it to me at one point, probably about 30 times over. But I love that because the listing agent and the buyer's agent probably had more than one buyer, especially if they sold it 90 days ago when the market was a lot hotter. And so they probably already have people that either went or, hey, this might be a good opportunity for you to call the people that showed up to your open houses and tell them about it and try and get that business. So I love that. I have one more.
Yeah.
This should have been in the beginning, but we'll just put it at the beginning now. What should agents be doing to avoid this whole situation, to not, like, how do you make sure you don't overprice a listing without saying, oh, let's underprice it by $1 million? Like, obviously that's an easy one, but how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, the conversation we're having with our team right now, I just had this yesterday, is like, this is not the market to push on price, right? This market is where you got to look at where all the other competing listings are, and you got to go under it. Because what happens is, if let's say there's 4 listings all on the market, and let's just assume they're all very similar location, price, beds, baths, all that stuff, and they're all at $1 million. Okay, well, in an appreciating market or even a stable market, you're probably going to price it right around where the comps are. But if there's 5 active on the market right now, and you come to the market and you price it right there in line with the 5, now there's 6 choices for a buyer to pick from. And so when a buyer comes out and looks at one home, they're probably going to look at all 6, right? Well, how's a buyer going to pick yours over the other 5? Like, if we agree that we're similar condition, bedroom, bathroom, location, and we're priced similar to the other 5, how's a buyer going to decide? Are they going to make a logical decision to buy yours or an emotional decision?
Emotional, okay.
So do we want to take the chance that for some reason somebody is going to emotionally connect with your property over the other 5? Or should we also maybe appeal to the logical side of the brain? You would say yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I was shaking my head. We're on a podcast.
Yes, you'd say yes. Okay. Well, Brian, would you agree to make this a more logical decision for a buyer? We should make ours the most attractive home in the neighborhood from a price perspective.
Yes.
Because here's what happens, Brian. If we price it at $1 million like the other homes in the neighborhood, we're waiting for somebody to make an emotional connection with our home. But guess what's going to happen? Somebody's going to get sick of waiting for someone to emotionally connect with their home, and they're going to want to make a logical decision to undercut the competition in the neighborhood, and they're going to cut their price to make their home stand out, to make it a more logical decision for a buyer deciding between the 6 homes for sale. So we have a choice. Do we want to price it the same as everybody else and hope for an emotional decision and risk somebody making a logical decision to price theirs lower? Or do we want to make the logical decision now and price it there and get the freaking home sold? Because here's what happens, Brian. If we don't make that logical decision, let's say if it's $1 million, we probably got to go like $950 right now. So let's price it at $950. And now we're a very logical decision. Somebody's going to see, I could pay $1 million for any of those 5 or $950 for this one. They're going to buy yours for $950. But here's what happens. If we price it at $1 million, somebody else decides they're going to be the one to drop to $950 and it's going to sell. Well, guess what? That's the new high water mark in the neighborhood. So now everybody's got to come to $950. But if we all come to $950, we're in that same freaking situation again, where now it's an emotional decision picking us over the others at $950. Now we got to go to like 925, maybe 900, right? And so it's kind of a ladder. I actually like to draw a ladder out for people and show them how we're just dropping one rung after another. Do we want to come down one rung on the ladder or 2 or 3 rungs on the ladder?
Yeah, with another 30, 60, 90 days on the market.
Because there's nothing data-wise that tells me the market's going to turn around anytime soon, that we're going to, reverse course of this downward trend that we're in right now. So let's get ahead of it as opposed to chasing it.
That makes sense. That's all I got for that.
Feel good about it?
Yeah, I love that portion.
But yeah, this is just not a market to be aggressive with your price and try to set records. Like, this is not a record-setting market. If you want to look like a hero, you're not going to look like a hero right now getting a record-setting price. You're going to look like a hero selling the fucking house, which is your job. That's what you're hired to do.
Yeah.
We're not trying to break records in a slow market like this. We're trying to get the home sold, which is what the seller is hiring you to do, and get them the most money possible. And what might not feel like the most money possible, like $950 might not feel like a lot today, but 6 months down the road when they're selling for $925 or $900, they're going to be really glad that you got them that $950.
Absolutely. Right before you close this out, I have a really quick, our new segment's called What Would Whissel Do?
Yeah.
I've got a really quick thing, but go ahead and give us that info.
Awesome. So yeah, before we wrap, if you're watching the show, if you got some value out of it today, make sure to hook us up. If you're on a podcast platform, hook us up with a review on there. Those reviews mean the world to us. And subscribe so you can listen to future episodes of the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you enjoyed the show. If you have questions, throw them in the comment section on there. And if you want more of our content on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and that little notification bell.
This goes right in line with everything we're talking about.
Right.
This came from one of our team agents, and they said, help. My seller wants me to reduce the list price by $1,000 per day. I have strongly suggested a $25K price reduction. What do you think about that strategy?
There's a saying, cut deep, cut once.
That might have been.
We're talking about my hair transplant here. But that's the saying, cut deep, cut once. And otherwise it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? The 1,000's not going to move needle. Now we could argue there's a marketing play that it's going to start showing up in people's searches day after day after, but then people kind of get annoyed by it, and it actually could do more harm than good when you do this like daily cut thing. So cut once, cut deep, cut once, or death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Cool. That's all we got.
That was it. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Whissel Way podcast. If you want to stay connected with Bryan and I am at Kyle Whissel. He is at Bryan Koci on Instagram. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Whissel Way podcast.